This is One Sentence News, a daily podcast featuring 3 news stories with a sentence-long summary and 1 sentence of context apiece. I'm Colin Wright. This is a sponsored message. Recently, I started using Anchor as my podcast host. Anchor offers benefits that most other hosts do not. It's free to use, but it also has a collection of tools that allow you to create a podcast completely within the Anchor website or smartphone app. They distribute your show to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other distribution channels without any additional effort on your part. And you can make money from your podcast without any minimum audience size. So you can use it as a more traditional podcast host like I do, but it's also got everything you need to start a podcast from scratch in one place. If you're keen to give it a shot, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It's Monday, April 18th, 2022. Let's talk about the news. From the New York Times, Russia-Ukraine War Summary. In a formal diplomatic note, Russia has warned of, quote, unpredictable consequences, and, quote, if the U.S. continues to send weapons systems to Ukraine. Russian long-range bombers have reportedly hit a factory in Kyiv where anti-ship missiles, like the ones that reportedly damaged and ultimately sunk a large Russian warship in the Black Sea, were produced, alongside other targets in the city. And Russia demanded that the last remaining Ukrainian soldiers in the almost completely demolished city of Mariupol surrender over the weekend. But no Ukrainian soldiers took them up on the offer, and Russia's Ministry of Defense is now saying they're ready to eliminate remaining resistance in the city. Russia has unveiled a list of counter-sanctions against British politicians over the past few days, including British Prime Minister Johnson, for what the Russian government is calling the UK's hostile action against Russia, their support for Ukraine, basically. And this mostly means these politicians won't be able to visit Russia, so these counter-sanctions are being viewed as a mostly symbolic sort of thing. From Axios, FDA issues emergency authorization for COVID breath test. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration, or FDA, has provided emergency use authorization to a COVID-19 diagnostic test that uses a breathalyzer to detect infection. This test can provide results in less than 3 minutes and has been shown to be highly accurate, and thus may serve to fill in some of the testing gaps left by diminished funding across the U.S., and may make it easier for time-strapped patients to get tested between other responsibilities. The breath test is performed using a device about the size of a piece of carry-on luggage. Each device is expected to be capable of conducting about 160 tests per day, and the company behind this technology, InspectIR, says they can produce about 100 of the devices per week at their current manufacturing scale. So it could take a while before breathalyzer COVID tests become common, even if they continue to work as well as they have so far. And from Reuters, U.S. to resume oil and gas drilling on public land, despite Biden campaign pledge. Last week, the Biden administration announced that they have resumed work on plans for oil and gas development on federal lands in order to shore up fossil fuel resources that could help bring down consumer fuel prices, while also improving U.S. and allied nations' energy security in the wake of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The administration says they'll allow less land to be leased for such purposes, and that they'll charge higher prices for such drilling. But there's a good chance many will see this as President Biden violating his campaign promise to stop drilling on these lands entirely in order to focus on renewable energy sources instead. This would seem to be a decision predicated on the knowledge that the everyday person doesn't like paying more for gas, and that the price of pretty much everything goes up when gas prices go up, but also the understanding that while shifting to renewables is desirable long-term, pumping more oil and gas to both use and to ship to allies will be a major geopolitical asset in a global marketplace lacking, or mostly lacking, Russia's abundant energy resources. If you're finding some value in One Sentence News, consider leaving a quick review wherever you get your podcasts and/or sharing the show with a friend. You can find out more about this show or subscribe to the email version at onesentencenews.com. And you can support this and other related projects, like the Let's Know Things and Brain Lenses podcasts, at understandery.com.